with our very own Les Kincaid from Las Vegas. What's the show about, Les?
Well, every week we do something very unique. We bring in 3 wines from a particular winery, and we have a group of local people come to an upscale restaurant. We taste the food from the restaurant to pair with each one of those wines, and we have a great time doing it. We talk about the wines, we talk about the food, talk about the restaurant, and of course that's about it.
All on CRN. Don't miss it.
Welcome to Divine Love Talk with Dr. Parthenia Grant, where we talk about health, well-being, and the love of the divine that exists in all of us. Now, here's your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
All right. I am delighted to be back today to continue our discussion with Kim Michaels' new book, The Mystical Initiations of Love. Did I get it right, Kim?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Now, I think it's time for a new love paradigm. We are on the third ray of love in 2015. And today I wanted to focus on the perversions of love that we have inherited from the Piscean paradigm and how we can bridge the polarities of what the 1960s brought in of this whole free love thing versus the old school suppression of the sexual urge. And there's just so much that the book offers that I've resonated with, that I had figured a lot of this stuff out when I was an adolescent, looking at the relationships around me. And reading this book really reaffirmed many of the choices that I just intuitively made along the way. But now this information is being offered on a wider scale, because I was actually teaching a lot of this stuff in my classrooms, and I think it's very much needed. So I'm just so excited and so grateful that you have released this book, Kim. So why don't we start out with, I wanted to focus today on the perversion of love as it relates to people thinking that when you are in a spiritual relationship, that it means that peace, a peaceful spiritual relationship, means that you're just totally passive in that relationship. So could you start out with that perversion?
Yeah, I've met a lot of spiritual people over the years who feel that if you are spiritual, you have to be completely harmonious, and that means you always have to speak softly, and you never get upset, and you never really speak your opinion, and so you kind of become a doormat.
Right.
And I probably had a tendency to do that myself, especially when I was younger, because I felt I couldn't allow myself to be angry or irritated or that kind of thing, because that wasn't quote-unquote spiritual.
Right.
And I think we have to find a more constructive way to deal with that and recognize that we have emotions and allow ourselves to express them. And that's what the book talks about, that you may have to go through a period where you actually acknowledge your negative emotions, if you want to call it that. The book doesn't call it that, but a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But you have to dare to express them. And in a relationship, you may have to go through a period where you can allow each other to express your feelings freely, without getting the usual reaction from your partner.
Without condemnation or blame, basically just being able to say, this is how I feel right now in this moment. It doesn't mean that I'm going to feel this way permanently, but these are my feelings, and being able to feel comfortable and safe enough to express what you're feeling in that moment, and know that you are not going to be attacked, and also knowing that the other person is not going to judge or condemn you for feeling that way. I think that relationships need to offer a safe harbor for expression and freedom of speech, because you know how close that is to my heart, is to be able to speak the truth as you are experiencing it in that moment. So I've looked at those kind of relationships, and the book talked about how what happens is you've got one person who becomes very dominant and they express how they feel, and then the other person just basically has to shut up and put up with it to have peace. And that's not peace in a relationship.
Yeah, and I know it's a big challenge for a lot of couples, especially if you have been in a relationship for a while and you have built up certain reactionary patterns with each other. Mm-hmm. And I think it actually takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of awareness, because you have to do what you said. You have to shift the relationship so that you can feel, at least you can have some times where you can say, now we are safe. Now you can say anything you want, and there's nothing that's really wrong here. Because what we learn, a lot of us, and I know I certainly learned this myself even as a young child, that there were certain emotions you just couldn't express.
Right.
In my case, it was that boys don't cry.
Right.
And I also had a mother and a father who didn't acknowledge their emotions, that didn't express their emotions at all, hardly.
Wow.
The only thing they did was if they got really, really irritated. And so I grew up learning that there was no point in expressing my emotions, because I always got a negative reaction when I did. Mm-hmm. So I learned to stuff them. And that, of course, I carried with me into my relationships.
Of course.
And that quickly, I probably even attracted partners who had the opposite tendency of expressing their feelings more clearly. Mm-hmm. And then that created that same pattern where I would then stuff my feelings. Yeah, of course. And I think a lot of relationships are in that pattern.
Yeah, and anything that you don't express, you're going to suppress, and when you suppress anything, it's going to build up. It always reminds me of that Langston Hughes poem, What Happens to a Dream Deferred? You know, does it sag like a heavy load, or does it explode? You know, eventually all of those emotions become this heavy load that you're carrying with you, and it turns into resentment and anger, and you can't have a healthy relationship unless you find a balance where both people are free to speak their true feelings in that moment without attacking the other person. And I do believe that takes a high degree of consideration and compassion and love for yourself and for the other person. You know, if you love yourself, you know that you have the right to express how you feel. And at the same time, when you love that other person, you also know that you want to talk to that person even though you feel hurt or upset by something that person did. You want to be able to talk to them in a way that it's someone that you love. You know, you talk to people as if they're someone that you love. And for myself, in learning to get there, I had to walk away and look at myself and ask, okay, is this my issue, or is this something that the other person is doing, or is it both of us? And then kind of sort it through before I could come back and then talk to the person and say, okay, this is my part of it, and I want to own this. But this other part, you know, I have these things that I call, you know, they're deal breakers. You know, this is a deal breaker for me. And I don't think I can honestly live with this. And so can we talk about, you know, how we can work through this? And if we can't, then, you know, maybe we can just part ways peacefully. But honestly, this is a deal breaker for me. And I think people have to know what their deal breakers are in relationships.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point. I have personally experienced that since I have a tendency to stuff my emotions in order to avoid upsetting other people, and that's the pattern I learned in childhood, it's very, very difficult for me to express my feelings if the other person gets upset about it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, there has to be a safe space for that person to express their feelings, because I was forced to stuff mine as a child, or, you know, I was going to get beaten, or, you know, there was threat of death if you talked back or said anything. Right. So I totally understand that, and trying to find my voice, that's how I became a writer, is I had to write about things versus, you know, talking about them. So it's been a long journey, but I do know that in order for any relationship to work, whether it's at work or friendship or intimate relationship or even with your kids, you have to create this safe space where both people can express how they feel without being condemned or attacked or made fun of, because love creates that space, and that's what love does, is it allows.
Yeah, it allows you to be who you are, even if it's temporarily, and you are out of sorts, or you need to express something. See, the thing I have seen in a lot of relationships, including my own, is that you get into a pattern with partners, and then it's almost, and the book actually talks about this, where you have created these internal spirits that are reacting with each other. It's just these patterns, and you're not aware of them, and you can't break them. And that means that all of a sudden you're not really, there isn't really room for love, because it's just these patterns that it's just like two computers that are responding to each other. You push this button, I'm going to do this. You push that button, I'm going to do something else. And so I think love really requires you to be willing to look at your relationship and look at yourself.
Yes.
And I know that's very difficult. It can be very difficult.
And I agree, which is why it always has to begin with you. And I think that a certain level of discernment, has to be there. And one of the people in the relationship is going to have to be the bigger person, is going to have to be the calmer, more rational person who is able to disengage and choose to stop reacting and be able to go back and talk calmly and say, this is a repetitive pattern and we've got to look at it and we've got to stop reacting the same way, because this is not getting us anywhere and it's insane. I've just never been able to deal with that whole insane thing of dealing with the same issue over and over and over. So somebody's got to be the bigger person.
Yeah, but see, that's where, again, you run into the patterns, because, for example, myself, I have a tendency to stuff my emotions, right? So if you ask me, express your emotions, that's difficult for me, and I feel unsafe doing it because I'm so used to stuffing them, and that's safe. That's what I'm used to. Then I've noticed that the kind of people that I have sometimes attracted to me who are very vocal in expressing their emotions, they actually, strangely enough, get very upset when other people do the same thing.
Of course.
So that's why I'm saying it's so easy to continue in the pattern so that, the person who stuffs his emotions says, oh, I'm not going to express any emotions. The other person gets upset. I'm just going to clam up like I always do. Then everything will be okay. And you can even think, well, if you're the quieter one, you can even think, well, I'm being the bigger person because I'm not getting upset.
Yeah. But come on, but that it's not true. You're not getting anywhere. Nothing gets solved.
Of course. But it's still hard to break that pattern.
And look, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying that if we're going to pass the initiations of love, this is what I've learned along the way, is that one person in that relationship is going to have to put themselves out there and know that, okay, I'm probably going to get attacked. I'm not going to get approval ratings, for telling the truth, but this problem has to stop. And so that's what gave me the courage to, I know that I've always had to be the one in any relationship at work, no matter what. I've had to face my fear of being attacked for speaking my truth or saying how I feel. And I think it's courage that, you said that word, it takes courage, and we got to find it. If our relationships are going to change, and if we're going to move into a new paradigm of love, who's going to be that bigger person? That's the question. So when we come back after commercial break, we're going to look at more perversions of love and how we can unblock the flow of love in relationships. I'm talking to my co-host Kim Michaels about his new book, The Mystical Initiations of Love. More after commercial break.
Come to Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante in Fullerton, California for our sizzling party savings. Book your wedding event or reception, your birthday bash, or a special event of any kind and celebrate at Angelo's and Vinci's. Come to Angelo's and Vinci's and celebrate in one of our many festive banquet rooms. It's an incredible fun event you'll never forget. Food, music, and lots of fun. Call for the details, and don't forget our daily lunch and dinners, plus our Sunday champagne brunch. Just $14.95. Minestrone soup, sausage and peppers, pastas, chicken dishes, salads, scones, and muffins. Plus so much more, a chocolate fondue fountain, Zebblies, cannolis, fresh fruit, champagne, and Junior will be waiting to make the omelet of your choice from our omelet bar. Angelo's and Vinci's has been voted on the Orange County Hot List as one of the top 5 Italian restaurants for the past 6 years. And don't forget our award-winning pizzas. Thin or thick, they're yummy. It's all at Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante at 550 North Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton, California. Call 714-879-4022, 714-879-4022.
Have you ever considered adding a home security system but thought it would be too expensive? Here's the good news. There's never been a more affordable time to help protect your home, valuables, and your loved ones. You can now get a $100 Visa card from Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer, with the installation of a new ADT monitored system. Here's even better news. Your new system, worth $850, is free. You pay just a $99 installation charge and purchase monthly monitoring for less than $2 a day. Call Protect Your Home today at 1-866-669-8954. That's 1-866-669-8954. Get the peace of mind that comes with owning an ADT monitored system, plus a $100 Visa card from Protect Your Home. Call now, 1-866-669-8954. That's 1-866-669-8954. 36-month monitoring contract required. General terms and conditions apply. Visit protectyourhome.com/terms.
Did you know that with a bachelor's degree, on average, you can make almost twice as much over a lifetime than a person with just a high school diploma? Yes! According to the U.S. Census Bureau, you can make almost twice as much. Going back to college is now easier than ever. There are select online colleges that provide laptops to their students. In fact, there are thousands of college programs on your laptop. You can go to college anywhere and everywhere right from a laptop. Call My College Laptop and you can find hundreds of programs from accredited colleges and universities nationwide. Start a new career in law enforcement, business, information technology, healthcare, and hundreds of others. Call My College Laptop to find an online college that will provide you with a laptop. In no time at all, you can double your earning potential. Double your earning potential. Call now, 1-800-731-4185. That's 800-731-4185. 800-731-4185.
Okay, we're back. Continuing our discussion on the mystical initiations of love. Kim Michael's new book. We're looking at some of the perversions of love and how we can create a new love paradigm. Kim, we were talking about how this one perversion of love is this passivity where ultimately one partner in the relationship will dominate the relationship and control the other person and shut them down and create a situation where you don't feel safe in terms of speaking your feelings. And if there's not this space to grow in a relationship and to express your discomfort so that you can move out of that space, then that relationship is not going to flourish, and eventually it's going to disintegrate because we have to have the space to be free to speak our truth. And I think that that's probably a very important foundation for any relationship, is to make it safe to speak your truth.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the important points that is being made in the book several times is that we have all grown up with kind of a naive view of the purpose of relationships, because
Right.
we are so fed with the whole happily ever after, and you found the one and only, and everything should be perfect. And so what the book states very clearly is that for all people actually, but especially for spiritual people, you should realize that the purpose of a relationship is to grow. And the way you grow is that your partner causes you to react And then you look at your reactions, and then you say, what does my reaction say about my own psychology and what I haven't resolved?
Right, exactly.
And the book actually says that we have all, without knowing this, we have attracted partners that will bring out exactly in ourselves what we need to see.
And that's what I was thinking about on break with the polarities in your previous relationships, where you brought out people that were giving you, and you came together with people who were giving you an opportunity to challenge that paradigm and allow yourself to feel safe in expressing your own emotions, because men are taught to suppress their emotions. And it's not healthy, to be overly dramatic, and it's certainly not healthy to stuff them. So we've got to find this balance somewhere in relationships to just give both partners permission to feel safe to talk about how they feel.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, my initial reaction was, what? Men have feelings? Because that's what we are brought up to think we don't have, And I think that's very much a cultural thing that we need to get over. And I think we have, a lot of spiritual people obviously have become much more aware of that. And a lot of spiritually interested men are much better at this, and many women are more aware of it. But still, it's something we need to be more conscious of.
And I think the book is very helpful in that respect, and also just talking about it, and men getting together with women, I think more often, because I always think about this book that said what men know about women, and when you open it, it's blank. And they will go to each other to try to get advice on how do I deal, with my girlfriend or my wife or my mother or sister, and they don't seem to have a clue. And I've always said, go to, a woman, talk to other women that and they will tell you the truth about how to deal with other women in your life. And the book talked about how not just men, but all of us are going to have to learn how to develop relationships with the opposite sex that are loving relationships that, are not based in sex. That, we've got to learn that sex and love are not necessarily synonymous. Of course they are in intimate relationships, but you can love someone of the opposite sex and not feel that you have to have sex with that person because you love them or you're attracted to them. So I thought that was a wonderful discussion in the book that I'd like to get into after commercial break. How we can move into that space, and I think that men are probably more challenged in trying to do that than women, but we need to do it. You're listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, interviewing my co-host, Kim Michaels, about his new book, The Mystical Initiations of Love. We will be back with more after commercial break.
Located in the heart of Maui's premier resort, Kaanapali Beach Hotel is officially recognized as Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel and the #1 best value in Hawaii. With a range of accommodations and affordable dining options, this is the ideal setting to turn Hawaiian dreams into lifelong memories. Live Hawaiian entertainment every evening, free year-round children's programs, weekly arts and crafts fairs, welcome breakfast, and departure kukui lei ceremonies add to the value. Swim in the whale-shaped pool, indulge in the fabulous spa and hotel salon. Enjoy Hawaiian hospitality at its best at the Kaanapali Beach Hotel. Call 800-262-8450 or go to kvhmaui.com. That's kvhmaui.com. Aloha.
Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Do you have unfiled tax returns or owe the IRS or state more than $10,000? If you don't take action now, your tax problem is going to get worse. Much worse. Seizure of property, bank levies, wage garnishments, and potential criminal prosecution. And if you owe the IRS back payroll taxes, chances are you will be visited at your home or business by an IRS agent. Don't become paralyzed by fear. Take action now. Call the experts at U.S. Tax Shield for help. Our team of experienced tax attorneys can get you protected, stop collections, and negotiate a permanent settlement with the IRS and state, potentially saving you thousands of dollars. At U.S. Tax Shield, our tax advisors will review your case for free, inform you of your rights, and give you a guaranteed quote. No games and no tricky upsells. That's why we have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. Put an end to your torment. Get protected. Get the Shield. Call U.S. Tax Shield now at 800-211-8753. That's 800-211-8753. 800-211-8753.
Did you know that with a bachelor's degree, on average, you can make almost twice as much over a lifetime than a person with just a high school diploma? Yes! According to the U.S. Census Bureau, you can make almost twice as much. Going back to college is now easier than ever. There are select online colleges that provide laptops to their students. In fact, there are thousands of college programs on your laptop. You can go to college anywhere and everywhere right from a laptop. Call My College Laptop and you can find hundreds of programs from accredited colleges and universities nationwide. Start a new career in law enforcement, business, information technology, healthcare, and hundreds of others. Call My College Laptop to find an online college that will provide you with a laptop. In no time at all, you can double your earning potential. Double your earning potential. Call now. 1-800-731-4185. That's 800-731-4185. 800-731-4185.
This morning, Sandra Sneed wrote a joyful status. This miss is a soon-to-be Mrs. Over 300 friends liked her engagement post, and it got 76 comments. Sandra, you're one popular gal. Geico also has a comment on your status. Did you know you could save hundreds of dollars on your car insurance in just 15 minutes by switching to Geico? Just the way we're trying to help cushion a nice little nest egg for the future misses. Hashtag getting hitched. Hashtag savings.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Hey, this is Bodie Stroud, host of In the Garage on CRN Digital Talk Radio. Join us every Wednesday and Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk with all my friends from the automotive and custom car business about all the latest things going on in the industry today. That's In the Garage with me, Bodie Stroud, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on CRN Digital Talk Radio.
Okay, right before a commercial break, we were talking with my co-host Kim Michaels about his new book, The Mystical Initiations of Love, and some of the perversions of love, you know, like the whole perversion of peace, that in order for you to be in a spiritual, loving relationship, you have to suppress your feelings and be in the Zen state of peace all the time. I mean, this is planet Earth, and the Ascended Masters call it a very treacherous planet. And there are lots of challenges here, and we're here to grow and learn how to master these challenges and not let them master us. So, you know, any relationship should be about expansion and growing. And in this segment, we want we want to look at the polarities that have to do with suppression of sex versus the other polarity of the whole free love that came out of the 60s. Either one of those can block the flow of love. So, Kim, I'd like to start out in this segment with, again, suppression, but on a different level.
Yeah, well, I think it's very important what you talked about earlier, where you said, what do men know about women? And the book was blank. But what is the reason for that? The reason is that the way most of us have grown up, it's very difficult to get to know anything about women because it's difficult to talk to women in a relaxed way. Mm-hmm. Think about most teenage boys, you know, how do we ever get to talk to a girl in a relaxed manner without there being this undertone of sexual attraction, which we are so programmed with it. We're supposed to have this sexual attraction. And so you meet a girl that you can talk to, and then you end up getting into a relationship or marrying that girl. And then after you've gotten into that relationship, you can't talk to any other women in a relaxed way because either your wife's going to get jealous or you are going to feel that that's inappropriate or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So what we really I think need to create is this space where men and women can talk together without having this undercurrent of sexuality that creates the tension all the time.
And, you know, it's so needed, and one of the reasons why my classes would just fill up and people would be lined up for years and days to get in them was this freedom of speech that I had in there, and I always covered relationships, you know, the masculine and the feminine, and I always create this real safe environment for the men and women to talk to each other in the classroom. And it's very challenging in the beginning to get men to tell how they really think about women. And women tend to be very vocal about what they think about men, but it's kind of like pulling hen's teeth with guys. And one of the things that, you know, I always take surveys, and I would say, okay, so how many of you guys feel that you can actually be friends with a woman that you're attracted to? And not one single guy ever raised his hand. And they were very adamant that, if I'm attracted to her, no. I have no interest in being her friend. I want to be with her, or if I can't be with her, then I can't be around her. And so there's this polarity there that, you know, we need to create a bridge of being able to give yourself permission to be friends with a woman of the opposite sex that you are attracted to. And I've had a lot of success in my classes in bridging this and creating this zone of comfortability where, you know, guys can say how they feel and tell women the truth, and women can talk about how they feel. And what was really interesting is guys would, when I finally get them to talk and they would, you know, tell women the truth, it was really funny. Like guys would say, okay, yeah, you know, I don't like it when a woman doesn't, you know, you get into a relationship with her and she just then totally forgets about her personal appearance. And, you know, I liked her the way that she was when we first got together. And then the women would just get all bent out of shape and say, yeah, but you know, you're supposed to love me and not the way that I look and all this. And it's like, women, okay, the guys are telling you how they feel. So get over it. This is...
Well, and see, that is probably a very important point there, because women are better at expressing their feelings, but if men do the same, then the women don't know how to deal with that.
But you got to start somewhere. You got to create this space.
Well, that's why you have to create a safe space there.
Exactly. And so one of the things that I love, my friend James Beard, who I've had on the show in the beginning, he and I, you know, do these wonderful workshops with, you know, men and women, encouraging them to do the crosstalk and to be comfortable. And James and my friend Ed and I, both of them, you know, over the years, and we're best friends, they've started out very much attracted to me, wanting to have a relationship with me. And I was kind of tickled when I was reading your book about how we have to learn how to just be friends with, you know, the opposite sex when you're attracted to them, that it's not necessarily synonymous that just because you're attracted to them that you have to have sex with them. And I've proven that you can be friends with a woman that you're attracted to, and there doesn't have to be any sex involved at all. And James and Ed and I, we will go to the ends of the world for each other. But it has been me. I, as the woman, I've set the tone for that and proven that it is possible to do this.
Well, I think as a man, once you get to that point where you realize here's a woman you can be friends with, and you can almost, because I think one of the things men are good at actually is looking at a situation and making a decision. And once we have clarified the situation and we can make a decision about it, then we can easily live with it. And so I think once you look at a relationship and says, okay, there's no sex here, then you feel liberated, you feel free. You know, it's like, it's a relief to have a relationship with a woman without this undercurrent.
I think so, because, you know, James can talk about anything with me. You know, Ed can talk about his relationships with me, and they feel very free in my presence. And I love having, you know, two males in my life that are my best friends that I can count on. They are there for me no matter what, and they know that I'm there for them no matter what in all of their relationships, whether it's with their kids or work or whatever. And, you know, it also goes to show that you can teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm just thinking, I have actually come across several instances where I know that the women, they can have a more relaxed relationship with a gay man than with a straight man.
Exactly.
Because there isn't the sex.
Exactly.
And really, we should be able to have that relationship regardless of sexual orientation.
And I think that that's what your book is saying, is that we've got to get to this point, because the book was talking about how, let's say, gave the example of you're married and you're in a relationship and you have kids, and then you meet someone that you're sexually attracted to. Does this mean that you have to, you know, leave that relationship and the kids to carry on this relationship, you know, with someone else that you're attracted to? And it doesn't have to be that way. Normally, that's what would happen. An affair would ensue, or you know, the guy would leave, you know, the wife for
right.
the other woman. But, you know, there should be the freedom to be able to work through whatever that karma is or those feelings are in a safe environment. But I think it takes a level of integrity and a high level of consciousness to be able to work through that. You know, because I've had, you know, a couple of men in my life that I met and initially didn't know that they were married, and then I was attracted to them and they were attracted to me, and then the minute, you know, that I found out that they were married, I was able to say, oh, well, you know, that doesn't work for me. And right. I have the ability to cut off those feelings, you know, and say, but at the same time, I didn't want to be friends with them either. And then the book, you know, opened up this whole paradigm of, yeah, you should, when there's mutual attraction between, you know, two people and one of them is unavailable, you do need to work out, you know, that energy, whatever that is, you know, maybe from a previous lifetime. And it's very healthy when you do that. So we got to create a new paradigm and give permission for those karmic things to be worked out. But I do think that it is going to take a high level of integrity to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's going to take definitely a paradigm shift, because I'm reminded as you were talking about this old saying, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
And the idea is, of course, that it isn't just enough for the parents, that you need a multitude of different people playing different roles. Mm-hmm. And so the same, you look at a man, you look at a woman, you look at an entire lifetime, and can a man really fulfill his growth potential through being in a relationship with only one woman? But does that
or
mean
one
that
woman, you know, same thing.
Yeah, or the same thing with a woman. So does that mean, as you said, that you have to break up these relationships all the time? Or could you have a situation where you can have a physical relationship, you are agreeing to raise children, mm-hmm. and you can feel secure in that relationship, and then both the man and the woman can have friends, and some of them might be of the opposite sex,
yes.
but you know that it only goes so far.
Exactly. And what's wrong with that? I mean, it literally, I know that it's possible, but it's going to take a lot of work for us to be able to get to that level of transparency and freedom in relationships. But
the thing is, are we so far away from that? When you think about all that's been happening in the so-called sexual revolution since the 60s, mm-hmm. you know, isn't it just a matter of shifting just a little bit where we become aware of relationships in a new way. And I really think the key here is the spiritual dimension.
Yeah.
Where you realize that growth is really the purpose of the relationships. And that's when you can do what you were saying there, that you can realize, oops, I'm feeling attracted to this person of the opposite sex. Maybe this is some kind of karmic relationship I have from a past lifetime that I need to work out. And maybe I can do that without having a physical relationship and breaking up my other relationship.
And you can, because I was able to, remain friends with with one married guy who was attracted to me, just by helping him understand that, look, nothing's ever going to happen, but we, there was enough there for me to be able to establish a friendship. And once it's real clear that these are the boundaries, you most definitely can be friends with someone of the opposite sex who is in another relationship. But again, I have to put it on the woman, because, I think that it's easier for us to be able to manage that sexual energy or attraction than it is for men, because men have never been held accountable for managing that, because women have always been blamed for them being attracted to us.
Yeah, but that's also where we need a paradigm shift. And I think, again, that can only come from the spiritually interested men who realize that it really isn't compatible with spiritual growth to have unlimited expression of your sexual energies. I mean, you need to learn a way to balance them.
I agree. And the book, your book made that clear, that, you will burn out your chakras, with this whole, I've got to have sex with any and everything, that I'm attracted to. And you still see that paradigm in young boys today. And even in older men, it's just like, wow, where does this end? And you can look at them physically, and they're physically burnt out, mentally and emotionally burnt out, and the energy is very scattered, but it just becomes sort of like an addiction for them that they've got to chase.
Well, and that's where I think we need to recognize as spiritual men that we live in a society that really is programming us to have, is programming us with the idea that we have a sex deficit. No matter how much sex you have, you still have a deficit, Right. And there are actually men who have gotten, like you said, into this spiral where the more sex they have, the more deficit they feel they have.
Right.
And that never ends. And so we have to be smarter than that and realize we have to set the boundaries and say, and I've realized it with myself, it's so easy to look at some of the pictures in the advertising. But it's also so easy to say, oh, I'm not going to go there.
Absolutely. It is a shift in consciousness. It totally is a matter of focus. I noticed that, like after my second divorce, it was nothing for me to be celibate, for years. It was just like, this is my focus. My focus was my work, writing, my students, and I just couldn't be bothered, mingling my energy in an intimate relationship with someone that I could see, after the first or second date that, there wasn't enough there to sustain a relationship. And so I think, that paradigm has to do with, okay, is there something here more than physical attraction that could actually sustain a relationship? And we've got to start putting that on the table versus, this physical attraction, and letting that lead the way into relationships that cannot be sustained.
Yeah, because it really becomes an enormous drain on your energy. And I think once you become aware of that, and then you realize that you only have so much energy, so you have to decide, does it go down in the base chakra and get expressed in sexual energy, or does it go up the spine and lighten up all the chakras so you feel spiritually connected? That's the choice you have to make.
I agree 100%, and I think that that's the work that we have to do as spiritual people this year in 2015 as we are going through the initiations of the Ray of Love. You're listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, with my co-host Kim Michaels and his new book, The Mystical Initiations of Love.
me take just a moment or two, if I may, and talk about a great place to eat. That's right. For you folks anywhere in the eastern San Fernando Valley, drop into Bob's Big Boys. That's right. In Sun Valley at 8274 Sunland Boulevard. Now, everybody remembers the name Bob's. They're getting bigger and bigger every day. And little old Bob carrying the hamburger in his checkered overalls is the same Bob that you remember from back through the years. And, of course, if you want to go in for a great lunch, remember their classic burger, the original double-deck hamburger combination. Delicious 100% pure ground beef in 2 patties with American cheese, lettuce, and our famous Big Boy special sauce. The name is Bob, and I think when you go in, you'll say, by golly, I'm sure glad that I found this restaurant because it's good for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They've got all kinds of things, and all you have to do is remember. Bob's Big Boy in Sun Valley at 8274 Sunland Boulevard. It's a great place to eat.
Hey, do you know who's coming to the showroom at South Point?
You mean
the one and only Diamond. You remember? Live on stage, February 20th to the 22nd. Tickets at the box office. Online at SouthPointCasino.com or charged by phone. 702-797-8055. The Diamonds at the South Point. The showroom at South Point presents the McCartney Years. February 27th through March 1st. Step into the South Point showroom and the hits, the music, the sound. Tickets going fast for this show. Get them now at the box office. Online at SouthPointCasino.com or charged by phone. 702-797-8055. The McCartney Years at the South Point.
Homeowners, now is the season to be thinking about your roof, because all it takes is one storm to turn a small roof problem into a major leak. If it's time for a new roof, call Sears at 888-465-9720. You can save $500 if you call right now. Sears licensed, fully insured contractors can get your roofing job done right. Just call 888-465-9720. Sears has a variety of shingles and styles that are built for long-lasting performance, and you'll save $500 if you call now. So call Sears for a free and home consultation at 888-465-9720. Hurry, offer ends soon. Not available in all areas. Installation provided by Sears authorized licensed contractors. License information available upon request. That's Sears Roofing. Call right now and save $500. Call 888-465-9720. 888-465-9720. Call Sears now and get that roof repaired. Call 888-465-9720.
Okay, we're wrapping this up with our discussion on ways to create a new paradigm shift for love and intimacy. Kim, I really appreciated in the book where it pointed out that the goal of sex should be to merge your beings together into the highest degree of oneness and pure awareness. And you can't really do that when you're jumping around from person to person. It's highly challenging to become one with everybody that you sleep with, especially, the one-night stands that, have become so popular. So I thought that was a very important point to kind of sum this up with.
Yeah, I think highly challenging probably should be impossible. Because it does become more focused on the physical, and see, that's not the highest potential of sex.
Exactly.
That is really to have more of a spiritual union and a spiritual experience, and that's actually, interestingly, how sex was viewed before the Christian era, when it was not seen as something unnatural or sinful.
Right.
And back then, there was a certain tendency that people would see it as a way to have a spiritual experience. And of course, that can also be perverted and taken too far to the extremes. And that was probably, the Christian suppression of sex was probably a reaction against that. Mm-hmm. So we see again how we go from one extreme to the other, but since we've been in the Christian extreme for 1700 years, that's probably why we had the sexual liberation, so to speak, in the 60s, as a reaction against that. And so what we are facing right now is the quest to find that balance, the golden middle way.
And I think this book is doing a tremendous job in terms of bringing us not just into shifting a paradigm, but into balance, where it also pointed out that we really need to learn how to express and receive love freely in whatever form is appropriate. And
right.
that, that's something we have to give ourselves permission to do. And it takes work and practice, and this brings me into workshops and seminars. I'm so excited to announce that for the first time in 5 years, Kim Michaels will be coming to the United States to do a workshop. And I want you to put this date on your calendar, July 17th, 18th, and 19th. And we'll also be doing some little mini workshops the week following that. So stay tuned for more information and more details. We'll be posting it on Kim's website and on my Facebook page. So, Kim, what would you like to leave the audience with today about the book?
That I think the book is a very, very good start in becoming more conscious of your love relationships, all kinds, not just sexual love, but all kinds of relationships with parents and children. And I think awareness is always the first step, and this is a good step in that direction.
And I also like the point that the book brought out about we are here to give people an opportunity to choose love and peace through our own behavior. So I want to thank all of you for joining us at Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant. You can find me on Facebook at Parthenia Onassis Grant or Divine Love Talk, and my website is drparthenia.com. Spell out the word doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Shows sound like this? What if you could hear your favorite shows in crystal clear, high-definition digital sound? Well, with CRN Digital Talk Radio's 6 channels of high-definition radio, you can now hear all of your favorite hosts like you've never heard them before in CRN HD. The difference is amazing. Catch your favorite political hosts like Dennis Prager, Tom Hartman, Barry Farber, and so many more. Entertainment and lifestyle programming like The Robert Conrad Show, The What's Cooking Show, and The What's Cooking on Wine Show, all in true CRN HD audio. Sports, business, travel, food, wine, politics, there is something for everyone, and it's all available in CRN High Definition Sound. Log on to www.CRN Talk for listings and information on all your favorite shows. That's www.crntalk.com.
The radio channels. The radio channels. CRN.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. This winter's latest storm is making travel difficult across parts of Tennessee.
The roads are very slick. We have had numerous